Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 5 of AI in the Real World. And today's episode is very special for me personally because of our guest, who is my first manager when I moved to US. And I remember there are certain leaders in your life, where, especially when you are um, young in your professional journey, they leave a mark in your mind, right? And definitely Ranjit is one of them. I always admire him for his clarity of thought, discipline, and the way he approached big challenges. So unfortunately, we couldn't work more than few months because he decided to move back to India. However, I've watched his journey from afar, and it's been inspiring to see him grow to C-level executive, which is a chief revenue officer at Access.io. So I'm truly thrilled to welcome Ranjit Balakrishnan to our podcast. Hi, Ranjit. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Sheetal, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I'm not sure if I deserve all those accolades, but
Oh,
thank you for it. And yeah, been watching your growth and how close you've been on the shifts of technology and how you've involved yourself, immersed yourself. So it's definitely an inspiration for all, obviously for myself as well. So uh, keep doing what you're doing.
thank you. And I can say that I learn from the best. So thank you. Cool. So, as you know, Ranjit, today's theme is Agentic AI as a new operating system, right?
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
what I want to do in this episode now, I want to get executive level insight from you on how enterprises are shifting towards this new operating model towards autonomy, right? And not just as an additional product feature. Because um, the way I look at it is like so far, all most of the companies were using AI as an assistant, right? But what we are seeing that evolution now when we talk about agentic AI is like now agents themselves are talking to each other. They are coordinating among themselves. They are deciding what to be done next, like taking action on it, right, and executing those actions across the department. So it's a big shift, right? What you humans used to do
Yeah,
is by
yeah.
done by agents now. So
Mhm.
what I personally want to understand from this episode is how enterprises are shifting toward this autonomy and what are the changes in this game. Okay. Uh,
Wonderful,
so I
wonderful.
will. Anything you want to add on the topic before we jump into question and answers?
Yeah, a little context, a little bit about myself and a little bit about access to set the
Definitely.
so that there is some context into how we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So my background, as you rightly said, Sheetal, is from a consulting slash technology services space, uh, for close to 3 decades now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've learned from the best, right? Being in the Silicon Valley, where you've always worked with folks who pushed limits, who pushed uh, limits that in an acceptable way that scales across an enterprise.
Absolutely.
Coming from that background, plus now working as a managed partner slash CRO, Chief Revenue Officer for Access.io,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially a day one AWS partner. We are a data. What that means is we've been in this for the last 7 odd years, and ever since we started, both myself and the founders who started this, Prakash, Vikrant, uh, it's always been about AWS. It's always been about cloud.
Okay.
How do we make it relevant for customers on cloud?
Mm-hmm.
And this is AI is the next level evolution for us, and particularly Gen AI, agentic AI is the next level evolution for us. And we've always thought about it from an enterprise perspective. How does it make sense? it's because for enterprises, it's not just about technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about what do they get from technology? What does it mean
Absolutely.
for their processes, be it their support processes, be it their existing business processes? So that is how our thinking has always been. We understand cloud, we understand AWS, and we understand what's been brought into AWS from a GenAI perspective. Now, how do we stitch this together for our enterprise customers? So that is how we've taken this forward. And my role, I'm a sales guy, so you wouldn't see technology terms in this conversation because I'm far away from it. Uh,
That's it.
but my role is to see how it's essentially a matchmaker, right? How do I ensure that what we bring to the table aligns with what the customers want?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this evolving. Early last year, it started as chatbots. I'm sure you would have seen a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But they they started as chatbots and they still live as chatbots, right? They've not gone beyond it.
Absolutely.
But from an enterprise context, Agentic AI is a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Agentic AI is what we personally believe, and I personally believe adds a lot of value to enterprise customers.
Enterprise.
It has a potential to redefine laggards to leaders and leaders to somebody who can break through the ceiling as well, right?
Yeah.
So that is how I see it, and we see this whole model evolving and also becoming a new normal,
Mm-hmm.
potential to become a new normal within the enterprises this year in
That is.
2026. It's not too far off.
Wow, wow. So thank you for that background, definitely. And I think that's why I wanted to have you on my podcast because so far I had technical people talking about how AI is evolving, what we can do with AI tools and everything. But I wanted to get the um, leadership approach, like because everybody wants to get into AI. So what we are going to talk about is exactly what you are like, what your experience is about, like how the industry is moving towards agent AI. What is agent AI? What leadership see the value into it? Because when you invest into something, you need to get something in return, right? And when
Mhm.
you give such an autonomy to tool, then there has to be governance, there has to be relevant architecture, there has to be control. So I'm going to talk about all those details and definitely this is not going to be a technical discussion because that's not my aim. I wanted to get into more business values and how do leadership take this decision and what is their perspective over this new technology. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. So let's dive into our questions. As you currently exactly said, like we've been doing this bots or automation RPAs, like automating processes for so many years. Like it's been over
Mhm.
more than decade. We have been optimizing these tools and processes. But now everybody is saying that that's not enough, and something is fundamentally not scaling. Right? All leadership is talking about no, this is not what we are expecting. So that shift, I can see it, but what I wanted to understand from you, when this original, like old models are hitting its limit, why does autonomy becomes the next logical step from your point of view?
Absolutely. No, so, see, companies started investing probably. In fact, even when we start looking at customers
Mm,
who are the right ones to move to the next level, we look
mm,
for customers who have invested in RPA, right? So
mm,
that gives us an indication of how mature they are.
mm,
Um, where they've already thought about it. They When RPA came into being,
mm,
there was always a notion of, okay, how do I bring in RPA rather than boiling the ocean in terms of replacing my existing ERP system? How can an RPA layer sit on top of it, automate
mm.
few things, right?
Okay,
But again, RPA is essentially a rule driven, right? It's a deterministic process. So
absolutely. Mm.
if it is X, you do Y. If it is Y, you do
Yes,
Z, right? It's
exactly.
essentially deterministic. There's only so much you could get from RPA,
Yeah,
right?
and if you change a process, sometimes it fails, right? Then
It
again, you have to
fails.
have human interaction there, right? So
Absolutely,
that, yeah.
absolutely,
Sorry,
absolutely.
continue. I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
So the and Agentic AI, but the biggest issue with RPA is RPA never learns on its own.
Mm.
As you rightly said, you still need somebody who
Yep.
goes in, who looks at, who continuously updates. If there is a change in the business logic, you need
Mm-hmm.
an RPA developer or somebody at a configure who configures it at a business analyst layer who has to
Mm-hmm.
go and change their processes, right?
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if it's imagine if it percolates across enterprise, you need to be going and changing
Absolutely.
across. You don't know where all you have to go and change.
True.
Uh,
Very true.
right?
Yeah.
So that is where agentic AI brings in, because agentic AI, these are autonomous agents. They learn on the job.
Mm-hmm.
So you set it up, you train it, and the agentic AI brings in this learning capability. It learns. It
Um,
learns by the functions you do. For instance,
mm,
we've implemented agentic AI solutions for a procure to pay process, for a hire to retire process, both at a support level as well as the core functional level, right?
mm,
So in a procure to pay process, it learns how do you negotiate, it learns what are the certain thresholds.
mm-hmm.
So it learns through that, and it takes certain actions based on what it has learned.
Yeah. So
So that
basically, logical reasoning, it has a power of doing the logical reasoning. Right?
Exactly, and that is why agentic AI brings in. That's the benefit agentic AI brings to play. And in fact, if I'm not wrong, I was there were some research reports that came out which said
Mm.
probably if companies were looking at a 15 to 20% productivity benefit on an RPA,
Mm-hmm.
an agentic AI, a well laid out, well thought out agentic AI implementation could actually double it. So you're looking at essentially a 20 to 40% benefit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Wow. Mm.
I don't know the methodology and all, but there there
That's it.
there is a compelling case for organizations to look at agentic AI.
Wonderful. I think, yeah, that makes sense. What my takeaway is like the old system, the old model is no more scalable now. Like if
Not
it breaks,
scalable.
it breaks. It's like the same thing. If you have to have a human interaction or a human um, interference to fix the problem, it's not learning
Mhm.
on its own. It's like static. Once you develop it, it's going to be like that for forever. And if something changed, you have to redefine your processes, change your configuration, change your developments, and then reuse it kind of. But whereas
Exactly.
agentic AI is more, it learns on its own. Like it's like an experience, like of
Yeah, it learns on
right.
its own. Obviously, there has to be proper governance and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But the biggest benefit is it learns on its own.
yeah,
Based on you don't have to continuously keep feeding it processes. It's not essentially deterministic. So that is where
correct.
agentic AI comes into play.
So then, is this where agentic AI meshes come into the picture? Like when the things are not scalable, but then you want to um, improvise on your performances, you want to get more benefits, reap more benefits from your technology. So that's where agentic AI meshes come into. Like
Yes.
when the intelligence shifts from just the tools and dashboard, like RPA is a tool, or the having a report is on the dashboard, right? So what fundamentally changes in the business when the intelligence shifts from this tools and dashboard, which is more human driven, but then with the agentic AI, it is more autonomous agents, right? So um, can you show some light on that part?
So agentic measures for us, particularly, is true in an enterprise ecosystem,
Mhm.
where you're talking about reusability, where you're talking about governance. This is where an agentic AI mesh comes into play, where
Okay.
you're not starting from scratch
Okay.
for each and every process, right? Uh, be it a procure to pay process or an order to cash process
Mhm.
or a quote to cash process, whatever it is, right? Because when you break it down, there are certain logical components like vendor negotiation, um, 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 reading manual in the sense like
Yeah,
transcribing,
absolutely.
translating manual documents. So there are repeatable agents, if you could, processes slash agents that are part of these core
Mm-hmm.
processes.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where an agentic mesh comes into play, where you're not reinventing the wheel every time you try to create a new process.
Wonderful.
And so you essentially have a factory model where you have a system which manages these different sets of agents, and based on a process, you bring that together. And
Mm-hmm.
in fact, our core thesis to our customers is, from an access point of view, is not everything needs an agent. So that is a fundamental point
Wonderful.
that we want to tell our customers, right?
Mm.
Uh, well, agentic AI is good, but it is not required for each and everything. For certain things, in AWS speak, what we tell them, it could be a simple Lambda function for you. Uh, because what we tell customers, do bear in mind,
It has a
uh,
cost.
there's a significant cost associated with, while there is significant benefit associated with it, there is a
Correct.
cost also associated with it. So you need to
Mm.
really optimize
Agree.
your architecture in terms of figuring out where you really need an agent, and if you really need an agent, uh, can you create, do you need to create them from scratch,
Scratch.
or
Okay,
can you
use.
can you can you create a library of reusable agents from which you can leverage? So these are the things that we sit and discuss with our customers.
Wonderful. I think I can relate being from finance background, because finance
Absolutely.
is at the end of the every life cycle, right? May it be procure
Absolutely.
to pay or
Yeah.
OTC or hire to retire for that matter,
Right.
because
Right.
money goes everywhere. So
Right.
thinking out loud when you say reusable component, maybe like when you get into when you join a company, we sign an agreement. Same thing
Mhm.
with the customers, right? When you get into an agreement of purchasing agreement, right? Then you sign on some terms and conditions. Or when you buy some product, that time also it's like a agreement between two business parties. So all these, if you look at it, all these are the lawfully binding documents, but you can
Mhm.
review them and understand them. Like even though these are three different functions, P2P, OTC, hire to retire, but the aim is same, like to go through the legal document and then understand the terms and condition and what can make like what can cause issue, or are these agreeable terms and conditions. So the same agent can do all these three tasks. It doesn't have to be three different agent kind of things. I think
Exactly.
that's what
Exactly. Exactly.
wonderful. I mean, this is something new I learned today. So thank you for that, Anjit. Um, so again, as you correctly said, when that cost benefit analysis has to be done, right? When
Mhm.
agents are operating layer, if we can say that it's more or less as an operating system, right? The
Mhm.
next lection probably everybody will ask is, where does the business value comes first when you do, like which function should we choose?
Mhm.
So from a revenue or value creation perspective, do you think there are specific areas where agentic AI delivers the earliest or faster results, or give more impact in certain areas?
Absolutely. No, so what's happening now is, so we, along with AWS, so we have what is called as a process to agent framework,
Okay.
where it's, if you go back, right, it's essentially a business process re-engineering. So we do a business viability assessment, where we sit with the line of business folks and the IT team. So agentic AI discussion, if it has to involve business. So we do workshops with the line of business and the along with the IT teams, to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, to pick a process. For instance, we are working with a leading a payroll processing entity,
Mm-hmm.
which does. which does human resource management for multinational corporations. So we are working with a certain aspect of payroll processing for them,
Okay.
where we do a workshop along with business and IT where we look at their end-to-end process.
Mm.
Um, and during that discussion, we identify, uh, okay, this is a as is process. Now, how do we before it gets into agentic AI,
Mm.
can we reimagine this process?
Okay.
Right? Because there is no point in moving a broken process
As it
into
is.
agentic AI, right?
Mm.
It's again a broken process. So this is an opportunity to explore how do you reimagine the existing process? Can
Mm.
we, because now there is a way there is a new way of doing things which was not there earlier,
Earlier.
right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Because, for instance, agentic AI properly developed solution can run 24 bar 7, right?
Yes.
It could do certain negotiations on your behalf.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
These things were not there earlier. Earlier,
True.
it was all based on, okay, this is the capacity I have, this
Mm-hmm.
is the compliance, these are my compliance
Recommends.
needs, right? And
Mm. Yes.
uh, combining these two things together, I create a process. So a
True.
process was built on certain constraints.
Mm-hmm.
Now, agentic AI removes those constraints to a
Constraints.
certain extent. Now, given this, how do you reimagine the process,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
so this is where we do a business viability assessment for them, where we look at take an existing process, reimagine the process, and as
Mm.
part of as part of that, we bring in our studio. So what we've created a framework, an agentic AI studio on AWS, wherein
Okay.
uh, once you have a business, let's say a process document defined,
Mm.
um, we upload that document and it clearly lays out okay, this
Mm.
particular process, this this is deterministic in this. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need any AI for this. This is more like an S-no type of a function. This
Okay.
within this aspect within the process is where is the right fit for an agentic AI module,
Okay.
right? So it breaks it down then and there during the workshop itself.
Mm-hmm.
And based on certain pre-developed, so we have we take our repository of pre-developed agents.
Mm-hmm.
So we mix, we put that together. And as part of that workshop, we show the customer, in fact, the business folks,
Mm-hmm.
what is possible. Essentially, a minimum viable product, right? Where they
Mm-hmm.
get to see how it works rather than just being on paper.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just a presentation or probably.
yeah,
Yeah. So you should.
because see, there is a fundamental shift that is happening because business users are used to a UI-driven solution.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
agentic AI is predominantly a headless type of thing, right? It's a non-UI where you're essentially chatting and something is happening in the back and it gives you a response, and then you provide another prompt, and so it's not a
Absolutely.
UI-driven thing.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
a behind the
so
scene. Actually, you
exactly,
don't know what's happening, and yep.
exactly. So that is where we show them what is possible,
Mm.
get a sign off, and then we work with the IT teams to figure to adding that critical layers of governance,
Mm-hmm.
observability, and all those things, FinOps, because you need to harden it before it goes to production.
Absolutely.
So that's the process we take our customers through
Okay.
when we figure out when we from concept to solution.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as part of this business value assessment, we also try to articulate what is the potential ROI, because eventually the business has to sign off before they fund this
That's it.
next phase,
Yeah.
right? So one of the outcomes for a business value assessment is an ROI. What is the potential ROI you're looking at if
Mm-hmm.
this process is agentified and it moves to production?
Sounds wonderful. So, diverting little bit from my top theme. If any of our listeners wants to avail your studio capabilities or facilities, how do they do that? Do they have to?
They
Like,
can reach out to me. Please feel free to put my contacts in your podcast, in your
perfect.
comment section, or whatever. Please, and one of the best things about AWS is, um, see, there is a cost associated with this business value assessment as well.
Okay.
And we are running a program where AWS is open to funding this assessment. Uh,
Hmm. Okay.
Along with
Mm.
us. AWS is open to funding this assessment as long as there is a genuine use case, as long as the customer is serious enough.
Mm-hmm.
So AWS is willing to reciprocate that commitment in terms of funding this assessment part, so that the customers open their wallet only when they see an ROI. In the sense, like
Uh,
only when they have an understanding of what the ROI is,
yeah.
right? So that's something AWS is willing to commit along with us
And
for customers who have something in mind where they feel that okay, this could be a potential for agentic AI driven process improvement.
I
We are
think
willing to work with them and get this fast track for them.
it's a great opportunity for any business to avail this
Absolutely.
uh, offer, if I may say that, because it's beneficial for everybody, because client is getting benefit out obviously because of use of agentic AI, and probably for you and AWS team also, if you have
Exactly.
a reusable component, you can
Mhm.
use it for other clients too, right? Like you can get one prototype out of it. But thank you for
Yeah,
that background.
and also there are certain customers who for them the certain aspect of their process is their IP as well. So
Mm.
we ensure that those are not replicable outside. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
we ensure that only the common processes, like for instance, sending an SMS or scanning images, which are standard across the board, those are things
Mm,
that are common. But anything which is inherent to a business, which is a competitive advantage to a certain company, those
mm.
things will
Will
remain
remain rigid.
within their guardrails, within their security frame. Essentially, it will reside within their AWS framework,
Okay.
within their AWS account, which is not accessible for anybody outside. So they will manage the whole security of it.
I think we are eventually moving to that. Which was my next question, is on the governance part of it.
Mhm.
So I like that we organically move towards that, because the next question is on that, because this autonomy sounds very powerful, right? Because as you were saying, that everything happens behind the scene. So
Mhm.
earlier everybody was visual, like who is taking decision, who is taking action, what is the repercussions of all our actions. So we could point where is the root cause of something happened, right? If it's a bad decision or something is not as per the expectations, we could give the responsibility or accountability to a certain team or member, or whoever is owning that process. But that is slowly going behind the scene, right? So in this case, as we scale on this value, right, of autonomy, it also introduce the risk, right? Because now
Yes.
who is accountable for the decisions taken by AI agents? What is the because we are granting access also to perform actions. So how do we prevent from these agentic AIs to misuse those accesses, right? How it is
Mhm.
safe? How do we have a control over it? Or how do we make sure that when multiple agents talk to each other, because you were saying that one agent can be used across multiple functions, so when it becomes unmanageable, because if the same agent is talking to 30 different agents, just giving hypothetical example, it might become difficult to understand like what exactly is happening behind the scenes. So how do we take control of this governance, security, or control uh, sections of
Yeah.
this automatic agent? Yeah.
No, good question, and this is very critical for enterprises, right? Because for enterprises, it's not a technology problem. The
Mm-hmm.
solution exists, but now how do you ensure that it is secure?
Mm-hmm.
It is secure. It is auditable. So that is where we also emphasize that it has to be well architected. So
Mm.
security, the has to be that security thinking has to be there from day one when you sit with the team and when you architect this overall solution.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been our approach as well, where we've ensured that even in our architecture, it's all modular. There's an orchestration layer, which so as much as possible we've tried to decompose it so
Okay.
that it's scalable, and also things like identity federation is a module by itself, wherein either we bring in our SSO or any enterprise identity access management systems, or we integrate with an existing system which is already there in the enterprise. For instance, in any enterprise will have their own identity and access management system. So how do you seamlessly integrate with it and ensure that those processes, those accesses are applied to the agent as well? For instance, in a typical HR process,
Mm.
you need to just keeping it a very high level. Only the HR employees, only folks within the
Has
HR
access.
department should have access to your compensation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, at a certain level,
Mm.
employees cannot have access to it. Employees should have access to only the process, the HR policies, how many leaves am I eligible for, or what is the process to apply leaves or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so how do you ensure that those
Controls are in
controls
place.
are applied
Mm-hmm.
when you publish this agent to production? So that is one.
Mm.
The second critical aspect is auditability. Now, okay,
Mm.
you push this to production. Now, how do you ensure there's proper auditability in terms of is it executing as per design?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Uh,
oftentimes enterprise customers are audited. All these processes are audited.
yes.
So how do you ensure that it complies from an audit perspective as well? So this is
Mm.
where in oftentimes when we get into these conversations, there is a representative from the CISO's team also who's part of this, looking
Mm.
at okay, how does this comply with all my requirements as well before I sign off,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
that is how we've ensured these things, both from a security, because for us governance is security as well as auditability.
Mhm. So I think what I hearing from you is it start from day one. It is a part of
Start
your
to date on.
design, um,
Exactly.
and every key stakeholder from all this department, as you said, audit or your legal team, your not only revenue, but whoever are the other um, key stakeholders are involved in the discussion and design. So your structure is built that way that it is taken care of all these aspects, not only on the solutioning part of it, like how do we solve this problem statement, but are we solving it as per the compliance of that company or of that
Exactly.
country or of that process kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Wonderful. So then architecture is becomes very critical aspect of it when you develop something.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And this is where we've tried to ensure that whatever the framework that with the AI studio that we take to the customers has these things already baked in, so that
mm,
because uh, time to market is also a very crucial factor. While
yeah.
customers don't have the luxury to wait until everything is taken care of, they can't do this from scratch. So
Mhm.
this is where we ensure that we have a studio wherein these things are. This is more of a plug and play. You integrate with your existing environment,
Mhm.
so that these things are taken care of while you spend about 80% of your time thinking about your process, right? Rather than uh, fi- uh,
This-
thinking about or worrying about these table stakes. These are very critical, but these are table stakes. End of the day, like
yeah.
governance,
Mm.
this is a table stake. But uh, we want to see how what is the maximum amount of time you can spend on the business process rather than on these things. So we take care of all these things.
Mm.
We make it as much as plug and play, integratable as possible. Whereas our customers focus
Yes.
on what is core to them, which is their business process.
I think that's a very critical part of the services your company is providing because
Absolutely.
I was about to ask you the next question is like if you start taking any project, right? If you have 10 people in the meeting,
Mhm.
there is a lot to discuss, but when it comes to decision, then it takes longer, right? And with AI, every day is something new.
Mhm.
I was listening to Sam Altman's interview today. I think he was there for the AI summit in India,
Right, right,
and
right.
he gave an example of a company. That company was saying that we'll plan everything in 2026, we'll design everything, design and build in 2027, and we'll deploy in 2028. So you're saying that's very laughable, like it's a joke, because you don't
That's
have that
true.
much time. Like you
No, no
cannot
way.
wait for 3 years to deploy
No,
your solution, because industry is changing it. There will be, it will be upside down in 3 years, right? So
absolutely,
that's very
absolutely.
important, because if you keep designing everything for every customer, every process, customizing,
Mhm.
then we'll end up
Exactly,
into this another problem with the different landscape probably. Today we
exactly,
have RPA chatbot, we'll have agentic AI, but they're very customized. You cannot reuse
exactly,
them. So I think
exactly.
that's where the Access AI Studio plays a very vital role to get that benefit, like faster to GTM, as well as you are being
Yeah,
compliant
for us,
and
it's it's
having.
it's it's faster without compromising security and cost, right? So this is these are our key tenets
Yeah,
when we thought about how we will build our studio for enterprise
solutions.
customers. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great, great. I'm very happy to know more about Access AI. Thank you. So I still have one question though, a couple of like unknowns probably from the executive level, because all we talked about is from the technology or the process, how everybody wants to should do it. What we are talking about is very ideal situation, right? But when it
Mhm.
comes to real life, Ranjit, what I have seen is, um, even if you have best architecture or best solution to be deployed, people are not ready for that change,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm.
It's a mindset which takes a lot of time to change of the people of the organization. So I believe technology alone does not change the enterprises. It has to culturally also, there has to be shift to adopt any new model. Like nobody likes changes, right? So what is your take on that? How should companies or enterprises do this cultural or organizational shift to embrace these agentic AI driven solutions or operating models?
Very, very valid question. Because in fact, last week I was talking to our CMMI auditor.
Mm,
We were doing our own audits, and I was telling him like when I started my career, it was still people process technology, and even today it is people process technology. Right, that doesn't change.
mm-hmm,
It's just that the underlying terminologies or technologies have changed, but it's still people process technology. So it's still the success of any implementation still boils down to people, right? How do you manage change? Because if you're fundamentally changing a business process, and if there is no proper change management associated with it, this process is not going to succeed.
mm-hmm,
So one of the fundamental mindsets that has to change for users is they they go from executors, essentially executors, to orchestrators, right? So you are essentially orchestrating agents.
mm-hmm,
Let's say you are part of a procure to pay process. You are part of vendor negotiations.
mm-hmm.
So you might have essentially a couple of agents, for lack of better words, reporting to you. Right? So your job is to come in and look at, okay, how my agents have behaved today, because these
Mm,
agents run 24/7. So
mm,
you are essentially
okay.
orchestrating your agent. You are actually
Mm,
looking at, okay, because you are running your own P&L. So those three or four agents that are part of your pod
mm,
cost money. While they're
mm.
running 24/7, they still consume compute. They still there's a cost
Understood.
associated. It's essentially like your
Absolutely.
CTC, right? Your
Yes.
how much you pay for your team. So
Yeah.
what is the cost associated with this team? So
Mm,
that mindset has to change. So you will be an agent orchestrator. So you will be looking at, okay, how many agents am I running who are part of my pod? and what is the performance so far? So should I relook at it? Is there something new coming in? So I should realign my agents.
Mm,
So that's the fundamental shift that has to happen
mm.
when you
Right.
deploy agentic AI solutions into your enterprise. So
Yeah.
that's a fundamental shift. Rest is all fine, but this is a big change according to
Mm.
me. You go from a normal people orchestrator to an agent orchestrator.
I think you are saying it in different, but my take, correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm saying, people are always thinking that these agents or AI will replace human, but what you're saying that they are not
No.
replacing you as long as you understand what they are doing. If you don't
Oh
know
yeah.
what they are doing, then you are outdated because
No,
at the end
they
of the day,
yeah, they will. They will. See, there's a good part about agents, and there's a little scary things as well. Because I don't know whether there was this incident about about last month, where an autonomous agent. So this was in an open claw framework or something like that,
hmm
which which did not agree with one of the
user.
instructions, right? And here's the thing: one, it uh, went ahead, and I still don't have the details, but apparently I don't know what it did, but it actually created a blog post criticizing the agent owner.
It was just,
It created a
yeah,
blog post criticizing the agent owner
that's,
from whatever it could scrape from the public domain. Because see, one good or bad thing about LLMs are they can create very good stories, right? In the sense like it's
mm,
very relatable. So it created a blog post from available public sources, which was
mm,
criticizing the agent owner,
owners himself.
the policies that they have. Just imagine, so they can wreak havoc
Mm,
unless until you don't properly manage
exactly.
them. So this is where an orchestrator is very critical because you are
Mm,
looking at significant productivity benefits. So productivity benefit at that scale comes at a
mm,
cost. Comes at
mm,
so you need to be really on your toe to manage it. So that is how we were even from an architecture perspective. While we put this, we've also tried to ensure wherever there should be a human in the loop for critical processes, right? Just
decisions.
imagine, procure to pay process, if an agent goes ahead and approves $1 million contract,
PO.
yeah, right. So because
Mm,
and it's all volumes, right?
yeah.
It can approve $1,000 million contracts, and
Mm,
that's it. It can bring down the company.
mm,
So how do you ensure there's human in the loop for such exceptions, and where all you can put a kill switch. So
mm,
wherever it's exceeding certain thresholds, you could kill it.
mm. Yeah.
So those are some of the guardrails that we are putting in when we design these systems.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, so rather than just thinking that like probably you are executing certain process on your own today, that is what is we are moving towards agent. But the brain, the controls what you have to put into place, the architecture you have to build on it is yours. So you need to exactly know what is happening when you are telling the instructions to your agents on based on what they are going to decide on that. And then
Yeah.
I think what another
And
point I am
and
hearing.
there's a very interesting element also, Sheetal, because
Mm,
uh, see, I always relate to, unfortunately, if I have to hire people to do a certain job, right?
mm,
You're always on the lookout for, okay, where do I get it done cheaper, faster, right?
that's right.
That's always our notion because end of the day, we still have to run a business faster, cheaper, because we are
Yes.
responsible for our end customers.
Mm-hmm,
So if I relate that to our parlance, as a user, as an agent orchestrator, one of the
mm,
critical aspects that you would look at is obviously the cost part is how much my agents have consumed for today.
mm,
You're always you will always be in the lookout for how can I do this cheaper because there is this whole LLM space is evolving. So that this
mm,
is where AWS plays a their strategy itself is we don't want to create LLMs, we want to orchestrate LLMs. So So it's up to you. So that you could go with Anthropic, you could go with OpenAI, you could go with something native that
Mm,
AWS provides, depending on
mm,
what your use case is.
mm,
But when these models keep evolving, you could always evaluate, okay, this is my use case, which essentially is your prompts or collection of prompts or whatever, right?
mm-hmm.
You will always be running it against, testing it against certain upcoming
Parameter.
models or
Mm,
certain models that have become cheaper, figuring
mm,
out, okay, if I replace an existing model, will it reduce the
Reduce
cost without impacting the accuracy level?
output.
So that is also another
Right.
aspect of an agent orchestrator. How do you
Mm,
keep your uh, cost of operations going down,
it does. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point. Actually, I see two roles have been added to the orchestrator. One is compliance. So you have to keep lookout on the
Mm.
whether it's doing his job as per the instructions you have given, as per the build
Mhm.
you have built the tool, right? That's one aspect. That's it's a regular thing. It's not like you build something, you develop something, and you're done with it. You have to monitor it for compliance,
Mhm.
governance, and auditability, as well as on the second angle is you also have to look like as you were saying, AI world is evolving every day. Is there a better solution available? Can we make use of it in between? So those are two additional roles which have been added to the
Exactly.
orchestrator rather than just doing day-to-day job of executing certain tasks day in day out. That's a very
Exactly.
good different outlook on the job roles. Thank you for that. Wonderful. Okay. Now moving towards decision making probably at executive level, because naturally when we talked about all this autonomous thing, and everybody wants to get their hands dirty into, right? Everybody wants to do
Mhm.
something. I've been to workshop, I have been to the seminars, I have been to the uh, talk shows or anything, if you can say that. Everybody wants to do something or other with this AI
Mhm.
agents and everything, but one question they always have: where do I start?
Ah, that's true. That's true.
So,
That's true.
if for our audience today, if you want to give one practical step, first step anybody should take without overcommitting on anything, what that would be from your experience, Ranjit?
Yeah. No, I think where we recommend, so this is again as part of our business value assessment that we do for our customers. What we
Mm,
recommend our customers is pick pick a high impact use case, because oftentimes when you start low, you end low. The ROI is not there.
okay.
So we always advise our customers pick a high impact use case, and
Okay.
we'll work with you to figure out, okay, what's the sub module of it, or we can further break it down. But the fundamental advice that we have for our customers: pick a high impact use case, so that your business can buy into it, so your
Mm,
business can see value in it, right?
mm.
So that is where that's my recommendation. So start there. So pick a high impact use case and then go from there.
Wonderful advice. I like that.
Yeah.
I think
That, that, that
we. Sorry,
no, no,
please
so
go ahead.
that is what works. That's what works. So
Yeah, no, no. Uh, we are almost on our time. Thank you. I wanted to give, like, I want to conclude in the high note. So we talked about current model hitting the limits. We talked about the shift towards the autonomy as a new operating system. We also talked about governance, how it has evolved, and how we have to build that in our structure from the day one, rather than it is as a checkbox at the end of the day. We also talked about how the architecture has to play a very important role to take into consideration compliance, governance, security, control, accountability, everything. But when you piece all these pieces together, and if you look out probably 5 years down the line, what will separate the enterprises that successfully adopt agentic AI from those who just experiment and never truly scale?
yeah, no, very very apt point to close, right? See, as I said earlier, it's not a technology thing. Technology keeps evolving. There is agentic AI. You're talking about AGI, which is not too far off. In fact, I think there is an anecdote that is going on. Is AI a bubble, or what we are living in is a bubble? So we are not sure, right? Right.
Yes.
For us, what differentiates winners versus laggards
Mm,
is it can be crystallized in three areas, right? One is governance, governance discipline around this whole notion. How do you build a structured framework versus every department doing it doing on its own? Because
mm,
see, if you go back, that is how the chaos started in enterprises, right? So every department had its own shadow IT, and but that when in an agentic AI world, that can harm you a lot. That can
mm,
harm you a lot. Because in that situation, it was still isolated. Finance had its own IT, HR had its own IT. These were still isolated systems.
yeah.
Um, the maximum conversation was an API level conversation, which you can always monitor, break it down. But in an agentic AI thing, imagine an agentic AI solution. If it's not getting a data, it can assume certain things and it can still go on, right?
Mm, mm,
Imagine you're making an offer to somebody. If it's
mm.
not properly integrated, or they're not, there is no
Parent
proper
systems.
architecture. It can
Mm.
assume, oh, I looked at it in the public forum and
Market
this,
rate. Yeah.
and it can release an offer. It can release an offer,
Mm,
right? So it can harm a lot. So a
mm,
structured framework is very critical
mm,
if you're embarking on this journey.
mm.
And the model maturity should also be there from an operation perspective, uh, because you need to think it holistically. So this is where the whole agent factory notion comes into play,
Okay.
rather than every department doing their ad hoc pilots.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it last year, because every team was given a certain budget for doing Gen AI initiatives.
Okay.
Finance had its own Gen AI budget, marketing had its own Gen AI budget.
Mm,
So they were trying to do something on their own. And luckily, it started at a chatbot and ended at a chatbot.
mm,
So no harm done. But when you're getting into agentic AI, a model maturity has to be there. So you should be thinking it more from an agent factory or essentially a COE model, right?
mm,
But very holistically, very thought through.
mm,
And last but not least, uh, you should have a talent strategy as well, as you were talking about the people part of it, right? How do you
mm,
manage change management within your existing employees, but also what's your strategy to hire new folks into the
mm,
organization?
mm,
Because if you the old way of, oh, I bring in an intern, well, you still have to bring in an intern, but the enablement of an intern has to be a little different, rather than using an existing L&D model, right? A learning and development module. It has to be a little different, actually a
mm.
lot different,
Yeah. You
right?
cannot
So,
have the old
so
school
yeah.
method for this.
Yeah, essentially three things: governance, the model, operating model that you're thinking about, and talent. What's your
Okay.
talent strategy? So these three are very critical for you to. So that is what will
Yeah.
separate the leaders from the laggards. Uh, you
Yeah.
don't have to wait for 3 years. Probably a year or two more than suffice.
I think that's a common thing keep hearing from everybody because everybody says in AI world, 5 years is like what you used to say
Oh,
20 years. It's too
yeah,
long.
yeah, yeah.
So things
Exactly,
change every time.
exactly,
But
exactly,
I
exactly.
liked your answer. Like you concluded in very great manner, like governance, model maturity, and talent strategy. If you have these three things right, you will get you will reap benefits from the agentic AI, and
Absolutely,
that helps a
absolutely.
lot. Wonderful. Um, I'm very glad to have this discussion. I
Thank you.
just, oh, if I have to summarize our discussion, today's discussion, in one sentence, I think autonomous enterprise is not only about shifting the humans managing software to intelligent system, but it's also about coordinating with humans to put this direction, guardrails, and governance in place.
Absolutely.
So it's not just changing the platform, it's also changing the
No,
mindset of the people.
exactly.
How do you have to do?
Exactly. Very good.
Wonderful.
Very.
Very fruitful discussion, Ranjit. I learned personally a lot. I'm
Thank
very
you.
intrigued with your studio concept. I would like to learn more about that. Probably
Definitely.
we'll have more technical discussion probably with your one of the team members, if possible in
Absolutely.
future,
Absolutely.
so to
And
get more insight
sure.
on that. Thank you
Sure.
so
Sure.
much.
Great.
Uh,
Thank you.
Anything you
Thank
want to
you.
add at the end?
No, I'm
Ranjit?
good. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And yeah, had a enjoy the conversation and looking forward to more of it. Thank you. Thanks, Sheetal.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a great day, Ranjit.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone who joined us today.